Well, good evening, everybody, and happy Friday. Welcome to the Just Jump In live stream. I hope everybody's having a good week and looking forward to the weekend, unless you're working on a weekend, which then I'm sure you're not looking forward to it, but hope everybody is doing well. Give me a shout out in the chat. Let me know how you're doing. Say hi. Even if you're working in the background. I do that a lot on a lot of the other streams as well. So I just work in the background and listen and participate from time to time. So love to see you. Right now I see Tim. Welcome. Nice to see you in here. And Mom, hi, how are you? I know Gopher Girl is somewhere out there lurking. I don't know exactly what she's doing right away, but she should be here soon. So I didn't have an agenda necessarily. I'll try and give some updates that I have. Not too many of though. It's been all about work again this week. Did a lot of work at night as well. So I've been trying to fit in what I can when I can. Let me just show you on one of the side projects they're working on. This is the dollhouse miniature train table, and I was working on the Lionel. I think it was I forget the name already of it. But it was an older controller and power unit, and we'll see if we can focus in on this. Getting scale on this right now is tough because I don't have any scale figures to do this with. What I'm trying to do is get it where a child has to stand on a stool to see the table and have their father or mother here. And those kind of true scale dolls aren't really very accessible. I think there's really only one that I could probably count on online. It's pretty expensive, but it's a little family of four I might go for. So I don't know if this is the scale. It feels small to me from what I've been working with. And so just so you remember, this is the train table. And so here is the controller printed in bright blue because that's what I had. Let's see if I can, well, knocking it over won't help any. I don't know if I can get it to focus at all. So we might have to pull out a little bit, but it's designed to go there. It just feels small to me. But I was able to get that printed. It took a couple of attempts. The first attempt was a stringy little mess, but this one worked, and it's black, so I'll print it in black at some point. And then the other thing I went to look for was like a stool or something to stand on for the child, and so I found that online as a 3D print, and it's basically 4 parts. It's the sides, it's the step stool here, it's the top there, and so just glued it with a super glue, and so that can be down there for the child. So that's what I did with that guy. Ken, welcome. How are you doing tonight? The other thing was I was looking for to model kegs. So I have a unfinished bar saloon type of thing, a kit that I featured a while back. Brad, welcome in. It's a good thing it's cold out there, Ken. Taking the dogs out's not very fun. The so I was looking for to put on in the back, I guess, porch of the saloon. There's some doors, the loading, kind of a mini little loading dock, to put some kegs down there. I looked online, and you can get them, 3D printed for you, relatively cheap, but you have shipping and everything. So the other thing is printing a lot of the HO scale stuff is pretty hard with the nozzle I have on my printer. But I was able to get one to print decently well. And so this is just a set of 6 kegs. They're okay. They're not highly detailed. There are other ones out there that are more detailed. But it was a start. It was a try. I had originally started trying to draw one up, and I had a lot of difficulty. It had some geometry to it that I'm not really good with. The parts on the bottom here are just all supports, and they'll all come off, and it'll be these little guys, and I'll put them together. So I'll print out a palette too for that and put them on a little palette. And so that's why I got those. And I've been working just on, that's what I've had time for between things that I'm doing at work and everything. I've just been trying to practice on the 3D printer so I can get better at it, so that I can get consistent prints, and trying to dial in all the supplies and, like the filament and everything. I also wanted to improve or use 3D printing for organizing my workspace a little bit. I know we organize and reorganize our workspaces quite a bit. Hey, Randy, welcome to the chat. Welcome to the live stream. So I've been also working on that. I am going to try and turn the camera here for a moment and see if I don't make disaster or make you all sick. Let's see if I can get this to come up here. This is a little close. So this is my little organizational piece that's all 3D printed. So this was the drawers that I featured before, but they can get they have a lot of stuff in them, and they can get busy. And so I was trying to think of the things I use most. And so there's this honeycomb wall back here, and then all of these things stick to that. So up here are the all-important tweezers, and then I use so many toothpicks, and so they get their own little bin here. Of course, the glues. The most I use the Tamiya extra thin all the time. This is the Super Gold is the odorless CA, and then this is just the accelerator for the CA, and I use those all the time. You'll notice that this top here doesn't go with this, but I actually printed out a bunch of these because you get so much of the super glue leaking out onto this piece here, and it leaks into the cap, and the caps no longer fit on tightly. So I found these. That's not something I created. I was gonna try and create that, but me and measurements don't go well, so I looked, and this one fits great on here. It's a little high up, but it fits. It's tight. It's not going to spill. And, I just have a bunch more of them as that one gets gummed up and everything. That was an easy print to do. Every one of us uses the tape all the time, so I just printed a little hook for the tape, and then we all use our X-Acto knives. And so this was set up for a different system, but somebody modified it for this honeycomb system. And so I have my different knives, and I have blades, and I also have the old razor blades as well there for when I need them. So I'm just trying to have things that are easy to grab for, that I use all the time. And I wanted it to fit on this unit. The only problem with this is it needs weight right now because the two pieces that hold it on here are very short. I really need it to go like all the way across to keep this held up. This is a panel that you can connect together. You can print multiple panels and connect that together. So I've enjoyed having that and being able to print that out and set that up the way I like. And so that was a success. So that I've been doing over time. That wasn't just this week or anything. But it's this honeycomb pattern that's pretty cool. So what else is everybody working on this cold night, at least in Minnesota, this super cold night? I know, Ken, you said you're staying warm. Are you staying away from the spouse in the basement and working on the trains tonight? Randy, you're always working on stuff. I know that for sure. And Brad, following along with you, I definitely know you're working hard on your modules. Oh, neat. Ops with me bugging you in the background. That ought to be fun. So when you're doing your ops, oh, there's Gopher Girl. Welcome in. So when you're doing your ops, Brad, do you do switch lists for your local switching that you have? So the other thing, what I was trying to attempt to work on is to get moving and finish up this little guy here. You can see it's on slides nice. Let me see if I can show you a problem I'm having though. When I lift this up, look what happens. All of a sudden, the wheels stay on the track. It's about the only time in model railroading when wheels stay on the track. A switch with dice, so that makes it interesting, so that it's not always the same. Nice, Randy. So, and what I need to do on this one is replace that. I think I tried. I don't know if it was this car I did this, but I tried using filler, the putty. But even when the putty hardens, when you're drilling into it, it kind of shreds up. So I think I just need to go ahead and replace that with another piece of styrene. And then the other thing was my initial, as we all know by now, my measurements are the worst measurements in the world. And so this is one of the coupler levers, and so you can see, I don't know if you can see, you probably can't hear, but I did drill the hole for this. But whatever I did with the measurements, this goes way off the side, and it actually um, has to go uh, right here is where the end of it needs to go. So this bent end here, that needs to go there. So I way overshot it, and I did on the other one was smaller, but was an overshot too. So I'm gonna have to spend some time rebending this. So here's the one. So they were even different sizes that way. But this one again was also going off the side and was too long. So I've really got to focus myself and sit down and work on getting that right. And then the only other thing on here is fixing where the brake wheel was. So the bottom part of this piece here, there was a piece that glues to the bottom, and the brake wheel and a piece of the piano wire goes in there, and then you have your brake wheel. So that's about, I think, it on this car. I may be able to weather it a little bit more. I think, I mean, it doesn't do justice on the video, the lighting here or anything. It is pretty light. If you remember the pictures that I can no longer access, there it was a much lighter red. So I think I could lighten that up. So I might do some work on that. But I really am close. Not very many steps left. So what happened in who needed to be recovering, Ken? Oh, that's right, Tim. The resin boxcar kit. Are you posting that at all anywhere? Are you posting on Facebook or showing your work there? Come on. Yeah. So obviously, ran out of room. I thought that some of these screwdrivers could be on my little thing there, but obviously ran out of room of that organizational setup for the space that I have. But I do have a wall to my left that I potentially could actually put a bigger grid on and hang stuff up and be within our arm's length if I wanted to do that. And so that's really, the rest of my days and evenings have been working at the paying people's place. Oh, as you can see, I didn't really take off the top protective stuff off to retape this again. It just came off over time, but pretty impressed with that. So that came out really nicely. And the other thing is I am printing something right now, just to show you how fast things can print. Getting all the, just found a HO scale print that I thought my printer could take care of. and I'll show you what it's doing, maybe. Let's see if I can. So with 3D printers, you have a slicer where you prepare the print in a way the printer can understand, and and I prints and so that the printer can print out the files. And the printer I have is a Bamboo Lab printer, comes with its own slicer. It's supposed to be a pretty good slicer based on another company's slicer called Prusa. That's what people think is the industry standard. I don't know if I'm going to be able to present it, but I'm certainly going to try. See if it'll let me here. Let's see if I can share that. So, get rid of me. So what you're seeing here is actually how we can track it and some controls so you can manipulate the printer while it's printing. It comes with a camera. You can see on here that that it's printing the plates out, and it is printing. It's supposed to be a signal tower, a signal box. And so it's a bunch of walls and windows and things. So we're going to see how that prints. You can see we're about halfway through. And so that's what I use to slice the programs. You pull in the program. So so I pulled in the file in a different way. But this is something that I was messing with and printing earlier. And so it gives you all kinds of controls here to print, and you can manipulate it in ways you need to get it so it's able to print. It's your first resin kit build. I figured you'd finish it before posting anything. So you're not like me where I'll post it as I go, because I'd rather you learn from my mistakes if I'm making them, and so that you don't have to make them. But good idea. The other way to do it is to have a clean presentation to get through it, so you help them do the right thing too. I make more mistakes than I do successes, so I just go for it. And so let me show you. And this is blue. This is very blue. It's blue because that's the stuff I was using. I don't know if I had mentioned it. I think I mentioned it last week, but Ben & Jerry's stopped making these tops, these little flexible plastic tops. And I have a lot of them, but I wanted to make sure, once I ran out, I had a little palette for glue. So I'll throw down, if it's a really small spot, this one is cut down so low, and it flows really quickly out of here anyway, that I can't just drop it out of the bottle. So I'll pour some in here, and then I'll go to my toothpicks over there and use the toothpicks on that. Well, since they're getting rid of them, I went and I sort of prototyped or proof of concepted my own that I printed. These are a little bit tougher, but they're flexible. And I really don't need a whole lot more than this. This is plenty to use when I'm doing a project, because we're not, dumping stuff on. I'll also mix paint when I'm doing detail paint and stuff, with a brush. I'll mix in these sorts of things as well. And so what I was toying with was making it larger. And so what you saw on the slicer was this, where I printed this out, so it's a little bit bigger. Than these. I don't necessarily need it, but I wanted to see if it was, doable and everything, and it is. And I, have the corners rounded off. The only thing is they don't stack well. So what I was working on today was a way to stack it. So adding a layer, it's much stiffer, but it does, for stacking purposes, like this has this lip on here, and it's hard to tell in the black, but it has the lip on there, so they stack easy. You can see I keep these around. This one's used, but the stuff comes off pretty good. If you have a pool of the super glue in here, though, it will melt eventually. But you can also reuse these. And I didn't think I was going to have to. I could just use and go, but we've come to the point where I'm going to run out of them eventually. So I'm just trying to use the 3D printer to be a tool, not just, to make HO scale parts and things like that, and dollhouse parts, but to also make the tools to help make things easier from the build way. So, yep, Randy, that's how to do that, to highlight the name, or reply to alert the person. I wish it would work with mobile, but it doesn't seem to work with mobile. It seems like you need a desktop for that. So, let's see here. Those were the things I was working on. So I'll open it up to anything, anybody else wants to bring up and talk about. Brad, maybe you could talk a little more, or put in some more comments about how the dice works. I've heard of it, but I haven't really seen anybody really demonstrate it. But do you have a set of parameters, roll the dice, and then that sets your switch list, or do you do something with the dice once you have the switch list printed? Let's take a look at our progress here. So, Ken, are you going to at everybody now when you're talking in the chat? I like it because it catches my eye when it pops up, because it highlights my name in there. What's interesting too, everybody, since I have a longer YouTube name, everybody either half types it out, or some will type it all the way out. Once you start doing it, and anybody in the chat, it will recognize, and then you can just click on them. So that's nice. But what most people don't know is, with the way YouTube changed, they changed up the way you can have your name, and they have a shortened um, they have a shortened um, naming convention that you can have. So I changed mine up a little bit, and so it's just the initials. So anybody can at me using DMRJ like that, and then it well, you can't really see can't really see. You can see the yellow that pops up, but that will highlight me, and I'll be able to see that when it's when you use at DMRJ. It's just like if you're ever searching, if you can't find the channel for whatever reason, if your subscription list is really long, you can search for a person with their name that's the part of their channel title, which mine is at DMRJ, and you can find me real quick that way as well. But of course, most or all of you are subscribers, so you don't really necessarily need to do that. But just something that a lot of people don't do. So if you want to at me, you can at me at DMRJ instead of typing out my whole YouTube channel name. So another tip for you on that as well. So the other thing that I'm working on, and that's actually I haven't been working on it for a while, is the cab car. The I'm waiting for Christmas and Hanukkah to come before I do additional work, because there's a number of things that I put on lists. Like for instance, LEDs. There's you can get a pack of 20 of them real cheap on Amazon and stuff, but I'm waiting to do that to see maybe it was thrown in as a gift or something. Um, and then after Christmas and Hanukkah happened, then I'll know what I need to move forward. And I got some. I asked for some supplies. Gopher Girl already told me she didn't pay attention to the list and went off the grid with whatever gifts she's getting me. And hey, James, welcome to the chat. Nice to see you in here. What I do know is our dogs have gotten pretty much the whole house is filled with their gifts. So they're going to have a fun time at Christmas and Hanukkah. I don't really think they know what it is, but boy, do they love going into boxes and tearing into them. Yes, it is true. There's about 1 million gifts in here for those kids. But it's really fun to watch them tear it open, like really like little kids. So, James, is the I know you guys you and your crew talked about the postal strike in Canada a few shows back, almost like 2 weeks ago, maybe. And, just at work and my job, we just started talking about it. Is it something still going on, or, has it been going on for a couple weeks? Because we must just be slow talking about it at work, although our US work and our Canada work are kind of separate. But just wondering what's going on there. Good old government stepping in. So But as Gopher Girl will tell you, I complain about our company being slow to react to things. So, and I actually, even the companies that I work with, they do have Canadian employees and things like that. But, what I work in benefits and pension. And so we don't really cross over in the work I do. But there are other parts of us that certainly do for Canadian benefits and pension. Yeah. Hey, Split Rock. Forgot it was Friday. How could you forget it was Friday? Hey, James. Or, I'm sorry. Hey, John. Welcome in. Well, hopefully they're not touching your pension, James. That's for sure. So, Ken, what are they holding hostage? And Ken and Split Rock, are you going to go sliding to the holiday party tomorrow? Slipping and sliding all the way from where you guys are coming from? I know, Ken, you got a little bit more of a drive. What are you ordering from Fast Tracks, Ken? Yeah, James, if you're asking me, I'm in the Minneapolis, St. Paul, Minnesota area, just kind of on the outskirts of the city. So, I was showing you missed. You'll have to um, you'll have to see the replay, Split Rock, on my demonstration. But I really I really only have a couple of things left. I'm gonna have to replace this here because this is basically stripped. The um, the screw won't stay in, so when I lift the car up off of here, the wheel set stays, which is amazing because we talk about derailments all the time. The wheel set stays right on the tracks when I lift it up, so that has to be fixed. And then just a couple details. The coupler bar, I made them. I don't know if you can see. You can't really see it there, but I started the hole there to glue the coupler bar on with those little hooks. But it's too long, so the coupler bar is coming off the car over here. So I've got to redo those. They're going to be much shorter. They've got to be much shorter. And then it's to on this end fixing the putting the brake wheel back in, and gluing that piece on the bottom and putting the brake wheel with the wire on there. And then it's kind of hard to see on here, but I'm going to go ahead and probably lighten this up a little bit more. If you remember those pictures, they were light, like they were it was like it was faded almost from the sun beating down on it. So I want to kind of lighten it up a little bit more than it is. It's a little bit too red for my taste. And then that should be it. And then it should be done. And I'll have to come up with a load for it. So James, I've done that on other things, and I suppose I could just plug it with maybe cut a really tiny bit of styrene and put it in there. But I've used the filler. This is what I've used, and even when it dries, it tends to, when you drill into it and put a screw in it, it just tends to crumble even when it's dry. So I haven't had good success with that. So I was thinking of just replacing that piece. It's a small piece. It's pretty easy, I think, to replace, but not a bad idea, of course. The loads never judge. I just was looking for weight on the car, Split Rock, because this thing, as you know, is so light. You'll go to grab it to look at it, and it'll go flying out of your hand. It's so light. So that's all I mean by that. But the other thing is, to see if I can get it to be more prototype, I've got to find more videos of flat cars used on New Jersey Transit, because the source pictures and things I can't get to because railroadarchives.net will no longer load. I've tried a number of times, and I know it's gone in and out and worked, sometimes not worked other times, but it's consistently not worked. So I've stopped looking there, which is a shame, because that's where all the source photos come from, get these. And I don't know if you remember saying, I got a glimpse of one of the cars was a flat car. It was a shorter one like this, so it was older, and it had some kind of structure that was this big structure where it was kind of anchored on the corners and had stuff in the middle, that if I could find a picture of that, I could prototype that, and I will. I think it would be a nice little prototype to have. It looked pretty busy, whatever the car was, but so. And you're talking, Randy, they're hard enough to add weight to for a HO scale. In your scale, they've got to be near impossible. So green, that's interesting to do that for color balance. That's what I was doing. I was doing it was called a rotten white. Let me see if I have it testable. So drop everything. So this is I use this for when I don't want when I don't want it to be a stark white. I use this Game Effects from Vallejo called Rotten White, and it's just a little bit off, and it's just enough, a little bit off. There's also this one that I've tried. I like the Rotten White better than this white gray. This is Model Air, but I use this one all the time for that. I'll use this on buildings. Oftentimes I'll use this for the mortar on brick buildings. I'll use it for fading on buildings as well. So I throw this into the airbrush, and that's what I did. So I just need to do it a little bit more. I was doing it very gently because I didn't want to ruin it. And there is a spot on there that I'm not happy with, that I spent a little too much time on. Um, you know, let's see. Yeah, yep, split rock, and that's what I mean. That's what all of outside of passenger cars, everything else for New Jersey Transit is going to be essentially maintenance away. So it's definitely being used as maintenance away. I just thought it would be neat if it was an actual, if there was if I was um, um, if I actually built this up. Um, with that. It's not necessary because you can use a flat car and put anything you need on a railroad on the flat car and it'll look prototype, um, for sure. But the other thing I want to do, and do it for motive power, is both Amtrak and New Jersey Transit have them. They're these big boxy things that they use for uh, catenary maintenance, and these big yellow boxy things. And so if when I get to the point where I'm doing motive power, I'll probably do that as one of my motive power items. Yep, James. And that's what I was saying to Split Rock is I need to find a load for it, with some weight, and also to be, also to be railroad maintenance, type of car. Hey, Randy, have you used the putty on your cars? Do you put them underneath somewhere, or um, I know I can't remember. I thought you showed me, but I can't remember. Yep, I had a cheap version of JB Weld that I still use, um, and it was from Harbor Freight, and so it was just their store brand, but it was designed to do the same thing, and it does. Except for I used to do it wrong with. I used to use the epoxy wrong. I'd use 5-minute epoxy, and I would sit there and think you had to mix the glue and the activator for 5 minutes. And by the time I did that, it was well mixed, but it was also hardening already. And then I didn't realize that it hardens in about 5 minutes, but once the activator gets mixed in, but you just want to mix it good, quickly, and then get it on the parts that you're gluing. Got it, Randy. Yeah, I mean, you do, you also have, I would assume you with box cars, it's easier to put weight inside even on N scale. But it's some of the other ones that don't have an inside, that might be harder to do. The other thing I learned about like epoxy and some of the other glues is it's okay to buy the smaller ones because they harden up, and if you clog their nozzles and things, you're not going to get much out of them. So it's okay to buy the smaller ones and get through them and open a new one. Uh, I've had some adventures with glues before. Um, I'm very lucky that the odorless CA that I use from Bob Smith Industries um, takes longer to dry. I can get my hands unstuck real quickly that way. So looks like the the print should be finishing up in a minute or two here. So one of the things that I learned is, so far that I'm learning, I should say, is that you need to work with the materials you have and understand them, because they all react a little bit differently to temperature and things like that. And so I'm finding that I have to have the right settings for the filament that I'm using. And so I've dialed it in on a couple of them, and I don't have failed prints like I've had when I started out. That is some hard epoxy, James. So so talk amongst yourselves for a moment. I'm going to go get that print and show you what I did that just took 1 hour to print. I'll be right back with you. All right, so I am back, and here's the plate that I just pulled off the printer. And so this is, it didn't come with any instructions or anything, but it looks pretty simple. There's a couple things I'm wondering about, but it looks like you got 4 walls here, those 4, a roof, and this looks like to be the door. I'm curious where that one goes, but let's see. They should pop off pretty easily here because they cooled off. But this is the kind of thing you can do with a 3D printer that's neat. When you need something, it could be supplies, or that came right off for some reason. It wasn't coming off for me, but it could be supplies, tools like you've seen me printing. But if you need a building, I'm sure you can find one out there to fill what you need. Now, I like to build my own stuff, so I'll continue to do that. But if I needed a quick building out here, I had one that was, done in an hour, and then, I could get together and print it out. I am wondering where this guy is going to go, though, on here. If it goes on one of these, I guess it can go over one of those, not the side ones. But, that's your that's your basic building. Somebody needed this, and so they published it for others to use. And yeah, and so that took just an hour to build. It takes me a while to come up with a drawing, a CAD drawing, and get it right. And then, sometimes I'll print it, and you know, um, it won't come out right. So let's see if I have one of the prints that I got way wrong, and had to modify, but it didn't take long. So I'll put that one little building together at some point. But wanted to just print it out and show you what you can do. So we have this thing right here. Over here is the wall and the front window, the front of our house. And we have curtains on these walls, and they go from the top of the window down to the floor. And in their infinite wisdom, they put the vents for this room on the floor, right against the windows, and so the drapes often cover them. And so I never went out and bought anything, but I just designed this little guy to go under the vent on the bottom, and just to hold back the drapes. Well, this thing is tiny. It definitely didn't fit, and so I had to modify that, and I came up with a winner. And this didn't take me long to design, but I had to figure out if it would work or not. But you can see it's quite a bit bigger, and it works really well. The air has been flowing all day today without interruption. The vent that's affected is right between the two desks, my work desk and this one. So much less messy than resin printing. Yeah. And I would have still gone for resin printer had I had a little bit more space and a lot more ventilation. It's not good. The chemicals just aren't as good for you, and it really needs ventilation. So the dream is one day to have a resin printer, so you could print out some really nice detail. And it's not to say you can't print nice detail with a filament printer, but resin printing is just much more detailed. As John had mentioned last time, Split Rock, you can get them real cheap, and get dip your hand in stuff. And I would say there's plenty out there that you can print that's already out there. I don't necessarily think it all fit. It doesn't fit what I need for sure. And I'd be happy to try and also help you design stuff for what you need. I wouldn't consider myself an expert at it by any means. And I do a lot of things in a really roundabout and obtuse way. Sometimes I get there, sometimes I don't. I'm obviously not trying to sell myself for your services, but I'm happy to see if I can help try and create some stuff that you need. reach out and we'll see what we can do. I do most of the time, if I have a picture, I try to freehand what I'm doing. Like I said, measurements I'm terrible with. I measure 3-4 times and still get it wrong. So once again, not really selling myself well for you, but definitely it's just another tool. And you've used tools all along, and you've practiced them, and you've gotten good with them. I think one of those is probably all your fast track stuff, building track. I'd certainly go to you for that before I would go to me, and before I would try it. And use plenty of fast tracks tools and things like that. That's what a printer is. Printer is just a tool. A printer is not going to do anything unless you give it the things it needs to do. So happy to try stuff for you. And from a depending how close up the items you are looking to have printed are, you may look to somebody who has a resin printer, or you may look to resin printing yourself for the level of detail. Something like this building that's built basic walls and things like that, not a lot, there's no detail on them or anything. That's a good 3-foot rule building. Something that is going to be there but is not going to be a focal point. Then you don't have to have a lot of detail. I could slow this print down and have it even print better than this did. Not sure if talking about there, you can kind of see a little bit of the lines here from the layers of printing. You won't ever on a filament printer completely get rid of those, but you can print in a really fine way. That and have even a smaller nozzle than I have as well, and you could really get rid of a lot of it, and it can look really good instead of this fast print, but it may take you a long time to print it. So but definitely another tool for you. Yep. Randy, I agree. But if you do have the personal protective equipment, you have the ventilation, you handle everything well, you clean things up, and you take that on that way, you really can have some success with it. And but you have to want to have put in that extra effort. Our former division paymaster, Eric Boone, was one of our first people to show us printing, and he printed in resin, and he printed a full HO scale boxcar, and he printed, I don't know, hundreds of them to get it right. And then eventually he did a demonstration for us at the old roundhouse, one of our meetings mid pandemic. He did that when we were all allowed out of the house. So I remember that, and it really impressed me what you could do with it. And he had a fully enclosed boxcar that he created with it, and I'm sure he's got a bunch of them on his layout now. And but it took a lot of work and a lot of practice, and getting to know all the tools and everything. So it's one of those tools that's not for everybody. I don't use all the tools that are out there either. It's again not for everybody, but if you're not being evaluated for anything, and you're just building your layout, and you just want to throw some buildings on that aren't high detail, you can get them done pretty quickly, and you can pull them off the internet from other people and get them printed out. Or you can spend the time to really super detail, um, the parts. So like for my cab car, most of the parts I'm able to 3D print, most. Um, and so I can make it look a lot better. I think that, and you all are the judge of it more than me, but personally, I was more satisfied with um, the design I created, and I created that off of pictures. So it was all free-handed in the CAD program, and I created that sandbox. And it was way better than what I created with styrene. And so it's just, again, another tool. Yep, you certainly can, Randy. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if I will have those for anybody who didn't see them before. Here they are. And unfortunately, I don't think I have a picture again because of, I mean, I probably could find a video of it again, but this is the styrene version, and from afar it doesn't look bad, but when you look at the detail, it's all bent up and there's gaps, and it just looks like a glue mess to me. But then I went ahead and printed it. I then designed it on a printer and printed it out, and it looks to me much more like the prototype. It's not perfect by any means, but from a satisfaction level, I get two things that are satisfying out of a 3D printed model of something. One is the design piece. I like to, as much as I print other people's stuff, one of my favorite things to do is design stuff. And to have a successful design, that's satisfying. And then the look of it is just much better and much more realistic to me. And that's satisfying. So that's why I like it. That's what draws me to using 3D printer over styrene. But let's see here. Where are we with my? So I'm hoping that with so in 2 weeks, so Christmas week, I actually have the whole week off. I took days off around that. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to spend some of that rest of that weekend really digging into stuff and maybe moving forward. And if not, that's fine. I'll know what I need to move forward, but we'll certainly, I think we'll probably talk about all the things we got. I expect to be on line next week and the week after. I don't think there's anything planned. I do have another date night tonight after our show. But hopefully I can share with you, moving forward a little bit on some of this stuff. I am going to try, of course, with work being as busier than I thought, I have to do some work tomorrow, unfortunately. And then if the weather's good enough, I'll be making my way to our holiday celebration for the Twin Cities division tomorrow. But hopefully this weekend I can really kind of get close to the end with the flat car. That's the hope, but we'll see. The only thing there that Devani's that we're going to Split Rock is hopefully I'll get my order a little faster than I did last time. I think I was one of the first 2 or 3 to show up and order food, and I think everybody was done eating by the time they finally found me with my sandwich. I think I was ready to pass out by then. So outside of that, and if it's, if I don't have to slide there um, on the ice tomorrow, um, then I'll certainly be there as well if I can. And I think it'll be fun. Last year was a lot of fun too. Um, and did I hear correctly? We have 2 MCs for the event. Is it not just Dan this time? I find it interesting that I'm not sure why they printed the door separately unless they were having some design issues. But, maybe they couldn't get the detail in there and had to do that separately. Interesting little model. Okay. Well, with that, I think we're going to go ahead, and I haven't actually seen, I saw Gopher Girl in here earlier, but she must be off doing her own thing or something. But it is another hockey night for us. So I am going to say just jump in, try something new. If you don't like it, try something else. You're gonna find your passion out there. So enjoy. Have a great weekend, and I really appreciate you stopping by.